What's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Action Jackson. So in today's video, I'm going to be further discussing the Trey Lance situation, and then I'm going to be talking about the Cowboys' last and final preseason game against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then one more thing, I'm going to be talking about one concerning thing I think the Dallas Cowboys should be doing and how they made a move for Trey Lance. They need to make a move for this offensive line depth for the foreseeable future, and I'm going to be talking about what could potentially hurt us in the playoffs, like how wide receiver did for us last year. So before we hop into the video, I would appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. So for me, I want to further explain what I was talking about with the Trey Lance situation, because I was talking about it on Twitter with wide receiver Jesse Holly. No, I don't know him like that. We're just going back and forth on Twitter. And a lot of people are calling me idiots or whatever, you know? So if anyone feels like, I don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. You know, I'm just a person with a camera, and I'm just talking Dallas Cowboys videos like it's cool. But I'm going to further explain what I'm talking about with this Trey Lance situation. Hopefully that nobody after this video doesn't have any mince ideas or misconstrues my word of how I actually feel about Dak Prescott. One, Dak Prescott is your starter. Dak Prescott is not going to go anywhere. He's for sure a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Now, if you have him at 10, you have him at 11. If you got him at 8, you got him at 7, you got him at 9, you got him at 10, wherever you got him, he is a top 10 quarterback. Stats prove you that. Wins prove you that, whether you want to consider that a team stat or individual stat. But when you're a Dallas Cowboy, wins and losses are on your record when you're a starting quarterback, and they will flame you and throw you into the dumpster if you don't win games. So wins and losses are a quarterback stat, especially when you play for the Dallas Cowboys. So now, Trey Lance. Is Trey Lance going to take Dak Prescott's job in these 2 years left on his contract? Heck no, hell no. He's not doing that, because we know why. Trey Lance couldn't even beat out Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, what's the other one? Sam Darnold, right? Now, what the Dallas Cowboys could do with Trey Lance is so really, we're talking about the now. What does Trey Lance do for you right now? Right now, Will Grier lost his job. Trey Lance right now is quarterback 3 for the Dallas Cowboys. That's where he is right now in the organization. He has entry-level pay right now. He has potential to potentially move up in the company if we're just going to do this on business terms, right? He has potential moves to move up in the company. Right now, he's quarterback 3. Next year, full offseason, underneath Mike McCarthy, underneath Dak Prescott, underneath our offensive coordinator, I forgot his name right now, right? He's going to be underneath Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush, pause if needed, right? So he's going to be the third quarterback. Now, next year, what is his job and what can he potentially get a raise in? Quarterback 2. I think he could potentially take Cooper Rush's spot, right? Now, there's another smart reason as to why I like the Trey Lance pick in the trade, and the reason why we did it. And that's a fire underneath Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott knows he only has 2 years left of his contract. Whether he knows that, his agent knows that, whatever the case might be, we know that collectively from the GM office, Will McClay, us as fans who pay attention closely to this team, and everyone else knows that Dak Prescott only has 2 years left on his deal. And how I'm viewing it, just my opinion, just because I've seen it plenty of times in the NFL before, not just because I'm just saying it out of thin air, but that's how I truly feel. And there's enough sample size in the NFL to know you have 2 years left on your deal. If you don't produce and take this Super Bowl ready level roster to a Super Bowl, Dak Prescott, and if you don't get an extension in the next 2 years, it's going to be tough, right? And then also, for the people that want to say, well, we're going to extend Dak, okay, but when is that going to happen? Because the market only goes up because guess the quarterbacks who still haven't gotten paid yet. Joe Burrow hasn't gotten paid. Patrick Mahomes is probably going to want another extension too. Then you got to think about all the other quarterbacks that are up and coming that are going to get paid after that. So you got to think about Trevor Lawrence, who's going to get paid. Trevor Lawrence might not be top 5, top 10 quarterback worthy, but when it's time for him to go get his money, he's going to get paid the highest paid contract of all time. Justin Fields, same way. So you know what I'm saying? So like now that's one way of looking at it, right? He can potentially be your backup quarterback because Dak Prescott, ever since 2020, has been designated really to miss a handful of games. Now, 2020 was a freak injury accident. He missed, 10 plus games. Then you look at it in 2021, he missed one game in that Minnesota Vikings game on Halloween. He came back against the Denver Broncos and just looked very terrible. Now, let's all go in imaginative world and let's go to 2022 and let's talk about that year, right? Last year, week 1, he injured his throwing hand on the helmet of Shaq Barrett. Bam, diagnosed that he had a stress fracture or whatever in his finger. He was going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. He only ended up missing 5 weeks. Or I think the timetable at the time was 4 to 8 weeks. He ended up missing 5 weeks, right? Now, let's play imaginary world. Imagine if we had Trey Lance last year, this is about to lead to my second point. Imagine if we had Trey Lance last year. Imagine if we had Trey Lance from that week 2 matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals all the way down towards, that Philadelphia game, right? Which was Cooper Rush's last start. Cooper Rush was 4-1 in his time as a Dallas Cowboy starting for us, right? And he also, we was also ranked 22nd in the NFL in offense. Now, imagine if we had Trey Lance last year with that 5-game sample size, and let's say Trey Lance goes 5-0 because, maybe he doesn't turn the ball over 4 times like Cooper Rush did in scoring plus territory, and we're not down 20 points to the Philadelphia Eagles, and we're in a very deep, rough hole against a team who made it to the Super Bowl, right? So imagine Trey Lance goes 5-0 in the appearance that he did go last year, but instead of us being 22 in offense, we were, let's say, 13. Let's just say, for the sake of the argument, for the people who don't like Dak Prescott, let's say that he was top 10 in offense, maybe top 5. Imagine Trey Lance showing you that last year with CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown as your wide receiver 2, a hobbled Michael Gallup who wasn't fully recovered from his injury, and then you had Simi Fehoko, whoever else played behind those 3 receivers. Dennis Houston. And then you have Dalton Schultz, who's so-so, and then you got whatever, right? So imagine, like I said, he went 5-0. He didn't lose to Philly. He had a great showing. Halloween comes around. Trade deadline's looming. What does that mean? People calling up, hitting your line right now saying, hey, yo, what's up, Dallas? We want Trey Lance. Let's say teams like the Atlanta Falcons called you because the Atlanta Falcons right now have a young, promising roster. You looked at offense, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, etc. Bijan now. Imagine if they had Trey Lance this year after he gained confidence that he can officially play in this league. Who knows? They probably could have gave us a first-round pick or a third-round pick that had conditions of potentially being a first-round pick in the year 2024 or 2025. Now imagine Dallas Cowboys having 2 first-round picks in 2025. Just imagine that. So that leads to my second point, that now we can potentially even flip Trey Lance, and then now Will McClay will win GM of the Year award when we have 2 first-round picks in 2025, and now we look like geniuses for only giving up a 4th for a quarterback, and then in our return value we get a first-round pick. And going back to Dak Prescott missing a handful of games, him missing a handful of games would be great if we had Trey Lance, because I feel confident more, even though I'm not too much of a Trey Lance fan, because I'm about to talk about that in that situation with the Niners in a little bit. But imagine if you had Trey Lance as your quarterback, fully developed underneath with a full offseason, and was used to hanging around the receivers in the terminology of your offense. I for sure right now would have Trey Lance over Cooper Rush. But since Trey Lance doesn't look that well right now in the NFL, I'm going to let him develop still. I would have Trey Lance be our quarterback 2 next year. So, now that's out the way, discussing Dallas Cowboys. Now with the Niners made a horrible decision. I like the trade in essence that they said, forget it, we're going to move in, we're going to want to get our quarterback now that's ready to win. Trey Lance wasn't a terrible quarterback, but for me, in my rankings, before I even really did YouTube, and before I even covered the 2021 draft, I felt that Justin Fields was the second best quarterback in that draft, behind only Trevor Lawrence, because we already knew what Trevor Lawrence was going to be, a freshman in college and coming in Clemson. We already knew what Boy Wonder was going to be. We already knew what Goldilocks was going to look like when he came into the NFL. We already knew he was going to have all the glitz and glamour and everything. We already knew what Trevor Lawrence was going to be. Justin Fields, I viewed as the second best quarterback. I felt that's where Niners went wrong, and they should have drafted Justin Fields, in my opinion. They didn't, but they mortgaged their entire future. They gave up that year first-round pick, the year after that first-round pick, and then the year after that first-round pick. So they gave up 3 ones to move up to with Miami to get Trey Lance. Trey Lance didn't work out. He got rid of him to, a rival from the Niners to the Cowboys to just only a 4th-round pick. That's sickening right now if you're John Lynch and you're Kyle Shanahan. But one thing I cannot blame Trey Lance, and he only had 8 starting games in the NFL. Dude, imagine being 20 years old in an historic franchise, which there's only a couple of those in the NFL. Imagine a historic franchise like the 49ers give you the keys. They give you the keys to the organization at 20 years old. You're not even old enough to drink yet. Can't even sign off on your own check yet. And be like, here, go win me a Super Bowl. Imagine being told that at 20, 21 years old. And not only to win me a Super Bowl, but then to also win me a Super Bowl underneath my rules, because that's what Kyle Shanahan has really seen, is that he's not really going to adapt. He's not really going to adapt for anybody. It's his system. It's his system. So if he wasn't going to adapt and make the effort to make Trey Lance look like the number 3 overall pick, the 3rd overall quarterback selected in that draft, if Kyle Shanahan wasn't going to help him do that, how do you think Trey Lance was going to succeed? So that's about it for the Trey Lance situation, and that this is going to be a little bit lengthier of a video, I know. So, to the Dallas Cowboys preseason game, basically same thing. I want a clean, healthy game. I don't want nobody getting hurt. Watch for the penalties. I still want you to be a relatively clean football team. Don't turn the ball over. All those nice things, right? People I don't want to see play. Jalen Tolbert, you showed me that you want wide receiver 4. Can potentially take the wide receiver 3 spot. Tolbert, I want you gone. I want you sitting, resting up for September 10th, which is in about a little under 2 weeks. Deuce Vaughn, same ordeal. We already know what you're going to be. You got potential to be running back 2. Running back 3 is most likely going to be your designated spot. Hunter Lepke is going to get the start at running back, so I'm excited to go see that. Offensive lineman, I still want them playing. I still want Bass playing. TJ Bass, he's been looking incredible. I want him to still play. Austin Richards, still needs you to play because you're going to be seeing NFL reps once Tyron Smith goes down. Deron Bland, I want him to sit. Neville Gallimore, I want him to play. Anybody that's on here fighting for a roster spot for the Dallas Cowboys, for potential suitors of 31 other teams, I want those guys playing over the guys I know that are going to be playing September 10th against the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. So that's about that. All their respective reps and needed reps that they need to feed their families down the line. That's about it on that end. I love that the Dallas Cowboys made a move for a quarterback. It does. There's a lot of more rewards than there are risk. Yes, we gave up a 4th-round pick, which is very valuable for the Dallas Cowboys because we know how to draft. Yes, 4th-round picks that didn't pan out. Dak Prescott, I know, is 1 of 1. You're not going to find your future quarterback or a top 10 quarterback in the 4th round. But if you look at more of a sample size, you have Tony Pollard, great pick, 4th round. You found both your tight end ones in Jake Ferguson and Dalton Schultz. So you picked a lot of 4th-round picks. You had a lot of 4th-round selections that panned out for you in that you got you got repetition out of the 4th rounders. You got Malik Collins, was a nice rotational defensive tackle, got a 2nd contract in the NFL. So you do pretty good for Dallas Cowboys with the 4th-round pick. So I do view that still rich for the Trey Lance trade. Now, I'm kind of mad about the Arizona Cardinals having a fire sale, but not only having a fire sale, but giving up offensive tackle Josh Jones to the Houston Texans for a pretty mid-tier pick. But really, I talked about it last year when before I even showed, I even had a face reveal, and I gave my impressions of the Amari Cooper trade, and I just felt that was a terrible trade because it was, I believe, before the NFL draft. But once I saw the NFL draft, now we drafted Jalen Tolbert, where I thought he was going to be wide receiver 2 to 3 because I thought Michael Gallup was going to be able to come back and have just a tremendous season. None of those things panned out. But then I also said in that video that if we don't figure out the wide receiver position, we are going to be in trouble because we're going to play a team that has a great defense. Me not knowing that it was going to be the Niners, I knew that we were going to have to see the Niners again if we wanted to go play at Arizona or Vegas or wherever the Super Bowl is going to be. I know even for this year, we still have to go play the Niners, right? So I said that for last year, it's going to be very tough for you to win playoff games in and out and have a deep playoff run or even have a good regular season if you weren't going to have a solidified wide receiver 2 because you lost Amari Cooper. And I was like, what was your wide receiver room going to look like? Because they hadn't signed nobody at the time. And the only people they had under contract was Gallup, who wasn't going to be able to play, right? And then you had CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, Dennis Houston. You know, you had like Simi Fehoko. You only had like 3 or 4 receivers at the time. So, you know, how last year wide receiver was a problem and it showed up against the Niners. Same thing can happen again if you end up playing the Niners for the 3rd straight year in a row and your offensive line looks terrible. Now, last year your offensive line looked terrible because Terrence Steele went down and you were having to have Tyron Smith play out of position. This year, if you play healthy football and you have Tyran, Tyler, Biotish, Martin, Steele, if those are your 5, don't really need to trade for offensive line. But me knowing that, you know, Terrence Steele had an injury last year, we don't know if that's going to linger. Tyron Smith has been consistently injury prone. What's going to happen there? So really, I feel like if the Dallas Cowboys does not improve their offensive line depth, that's definitely going to hurt us if we're playing Seattle, Detroit, the Niners, the Eagles, whoever we play in the playoffs to have a pretty good defensive line or front 7 that can pressure our front 5. We're going to have a problem if we have any injuries, basically. If you have injury go down to, God forbid, any of your real-time starters, especially Tyron, you have to rework that offensive line. Who's going to play tackle? Are you going to have Tyler Smith play tackle, but who's going to play guard for you? You know, those are the type of questions you have to answer if you're the Dallas Cowboys. So that's about it for the video. Again, I gave my thoughts on the Trey Lance situation, Cowboys versus Raiders on Saturday, and what could potentially cost us in the playoffs and ruin our season if we don't fix it now. That's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.